Part 99. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 982. What Zhuangjie said is correct. The Black Rose murder case has been suspended for 3 years, and now there is a new discovery. The entire police station is busy with interrogations, investigations, and journalists. Many things are waiting for Yu Yang. Doing it with Zhang Ci really doesn't care about appeasing her emotions. Fortunately, after receiving the call, Zhuangjie's mother rushed to the police station and took Zhuangjie back. As for the wedding room, Zhuangjie refused to live in it any longer. Mu Zi, who was far away in Jingling, was still anxiously waiting for news from Zhuangjie. After lunch, Sidu Yan called Murong Cheng to the study to talk, while Chen Kailing took Mu Zi to the garden, saying that the yard of their new home was empty and it would be more lively to raise a few flowers. Fall over. Mu Zi knew that Chen Kailing was looking for something to do for her, otherwise she would just sit in the room and be bored, and would hear the old lady's room from time to time pointing and cursing. The old lady probably did it on purpose, so she didn't close the door and cursed at the top of her voice, which is not cultivated at all. This point, Chen Kailing also felt deeply unreasonable. When she first married into Sidu's family, the old lady only spoke sharply, and she was generally considered a decent lady. Over the years, for some reason, she became more and more surly and eccentric. Mu Zi could vaguely guess a little bit. Some people with a strong need for control, when they get old, find that they are losing control over everything around them, and they will become hysterical. In order to win back control or a sense of existence, they often do incomprehensible behaviors, or even pathological, extreme behavior. Of course, this is just Mu Zi's personal guess. No one can say exactly why the old lady became like this. Mu Zi didn't care either. She already had high blood pressure, but she insisted on rushing to lose her temper, and Mu Zi couldn't understand what the old lady was thinking. She and Chen Kailing walked around the garden, but they didn't like any of the colorful flowers, and finally asked the gardener to help her dig out more than a dozen bamboo plants. I don't know if I can keep it alive, so I will try to raise it first when I go back. When Murong Cheng came out of the study, he saw a big cart coming outside, and the gardeners were carrying bamboo onto the cart. Bamboo is slender and not too heavy, but it grows so long that it cannot fit in an ordinary car. Why don't you pick some potted flowers? Murong Cheng asked Mu Zi. Mu Zi shook her head. When it's not blooming, I'll think about when it will bloom, and when it's blooming, I'll be thinking about when it will wither. It's just a matter of worrying about it. It's too much trouble. Bamboo is very good, and it looks the same all year round. Don't worry about it. Murong Cheng poked her forehead, lazy. Mu Zi giggled and asked him, what did my president's father talk to you about? We talked for so long. Talk about planning, talk about the future, talk about development, there's a lot to talk about, Murong Cheng said. Lies, empty words, big words. Mu Zi also poked him on the forehead. The gardener was moving bamboo nearby, and the two were playing at the door. Sidu Yan, who was not far away, saw it and couldn't help sighing. His face was gloomy. Chen Kailing looked relieved and said, look, these two children have such a good relationship, they look like a good match. What a good match, Sidu Yan frowned, opening a casino, with a lot of illegal activities in his hands, and Zizi's older brother, really, Sai. This is simply a big oolong. Just because of the preconceived idea that Murong Cheng's surname is Murong, he completely mistaken his identity. It was only after the wedding that the real identity of the groom was found out. Maybe it's a misunderstanding. After all, there is no evidence to prove that he broke the law, Chen Kailing said with a smile, with an optimistic attitude. Besides, he is not a real brother. We grew up together, and we have a better relationship. Speaking of it, no wonder it looked familiar to me at the time. I've seen it before at Mu's house. Sidhu Yan glanced at his wife and was speechless. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 983. After the bamboo was loaded onto the cart, Mu Ziyi and Murong Cheng were ready to go back. Before leaving, Sidhu Yan showed his father's posture, and said in a deep voice, "The marriage is hasty this time, and the honeymoon can only be postponed. You are still young, and your studies and careers are the most important things in front of you. You will have a long life in the future. Accompany each other, don't be in a hurry." The words of the elderly in the family may be a little unpleasant, so don't hold grudges or take it to heart. As you get older, some thoughts and opinions have been solidified, and it is difficult to change. Instead of thinking about changing, it is better to take care of your own life. Don't let this affect your relationship. If you choose to live together, you must remember that no matter how big a conflict arises, you must support and help each other, and the most important thing is to trust and love each other. Well, that's about all I want to say. Go back early, it's late, and there's a traffic jam on the road. Mu Ziyi and Murong Cheng glanced at each other and silently communicated with each other. Chen Kailing also asked the servants to bring a lot of food, drink, and tonics into their car. After getting into the car, Murong Cheng whispered to Mu Ziyi, "I didn't expect that the president's father-in-law speaks like a human being." Mu Ziyi couldn't help laughing out loud. "Do you think that a perfect father can fall from the sky for me?" "Be content," Mu Ziyi smiled. He spent the first 40 years of his life learning how to be a son, and now he suddenly became a father, and no one taught him. "It's pretty good already. You can think about it." Murong Cheng stroked her head. Mu Ziyi smiled. "It's not that she can think about it, but that her need for father's love is very low, so as long as Sidhu Yan treats her a little better, Mu Ziyi will be very satisfied. Try Murong Cheng instead. In love, there must be nothing less, you must wholeheartedly, and you can't be half-hearted. If there is less, Mu Ziyi will definitely be angry, and she will have to find Murong Cheng to settle the score." The phone rang. It was Yu Yang's call. Mu Ziyi's heart suddenly lifted. She finally got this call. "Is Zhuangjia okay?" Mu Ziyi asked. "Why did you call now? Did something delay you?" Yu Yang briefly explained the situation to her on the phone, and Mu Ziyi listened silently, her expression gradually becoming dignified. At the end, she let out a long sigh of relief. It took a long time for a phone call to end. Mu Ziyi hung up the phone, and sighed with Murong Cheng. "Zhuangjia is fine, it's too dangerous." Murong Cheng raised his eyebrows, and asked suspiciously, "Could it be that she really met a murderer?" "It's not the murderer of the Black Rose case, but he's also a murderer." Musa patted her chest lightly, sighing with lingering fear. "That man is an imitator of Black Rose, and the police found out that one of his forged documents happened to be the boyfriend of the fourth victim. It's unimaginable. How can you say that things in this world are so coincidental that Zhuangjia met her? Fortunately, she is fine." "Are you sure it's an imitator?" Murong Cheng asked. "The first 3 victims are all single women, but the fourth one has a boyfriend. From this point of view, it is indeed a little different," Mu Ziyi said, "and, from the forged identity, we did not find him. He had crossed paths with the first 3 victims, and when Yu Yang interrogated him, he only admitted to this one murder." There was contempt in Murong Cheng's eyes. "If you kill someone, you have to imitate him. Is he a primary school student? In order to mislead the police, it's easier to fish in troubled waters." Mu Ziyi breathed a sigh of relief. "No matter what, I finally caught him. As long as Zhuangjia is safe and sound, hey. I'll call her and ask." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 984. Muzi called Zhuangjie, but it took a while to get through. Zhuangjie's voice was hoarse, as if she had been crying. Muzi asked about her situation carefully, and was relieved when she learned that Zhuangjie was living with her mother now. It's good that your mother is here. I'm still worried that you have no one to accompany you, Muzi said. Don't be in a hurry to go abroad recently, just rest for a while. Before Muzi finished speaking, Zhuangjie suddenly raised her voice. Going abroad? I'm never going abroad again. I'm not going anywhere. Muzi was stunned. Jia. Zizi, can you believe it? He actually hid the blade in the towel. Zhuangjie hissed, not knowing whether it was shock or anger. If I was coaxed into the bathroom by him, my throat would have been slit by now, lying in the bathtub waiting to die. Liar, it's all fake. It's all lying to me. Even the name is fake. The voice behind her faded away, and seemed to be crying again. After a while, the phone was switched to another person, and the voice of Zhuangjie's mother Shenzhenru came. Zizi, Jia is a little irritated now. I'll ask her to call you when she gets better. Muzi hurriedly said, it's okay, Auntie, take care of Jia first. If you need any help, please call me anytime. Okay, thank you all. After the call ended, Muzi felt very uncomfortable. She had worked as a prosecutor before, and occasionally came into contact with survivors like Zhuangjie who had escaped death. Usually, after the matter calmed down, they would get out of the shock, and then the more they thought about it, the more afraid they became. As for how much psychological shadow it causes, each individual is different. Muzi sighed inwardly. She couldn't help from a long distance, and even if she could make a phone call, she was not good at persuading and comforting others. I hope Zhuangjie can overcome the psychological impact of this incident. Originally, Zhuangjie had an optimistic and lively personality, and she had a romantic dream about marriage that every girl has. However, the lover she thought she was in love with turned out to be a murderer, and Zhuangjie was shocked. Nothing happened that night, but every night after that she started to suffer from insomnia, and even if she managed to fall asleep, she would have nightmares. And Zhuangjie's mother is a well-known designer, has her own luxury brand, is very busy with work, often stays up late to draw manuscripts, and cannot be with Zhuangjie all the time. Sometimes, after Zhuangjie fell asleep, Zhuang's mother, Shenzhenru, would go to her studio to draw a draft, and would be startled by Zhuangjie's screams in the middle of the night. After a few days like this, the mother and daughter were a little overwhelmed. Zhuangjie woke up from the nightmare again, wiped the cold sweat off her face, and said to Shenzhenru, Mom, this is not going to work, I have to move out. Otherwise, I will go crazy. Zhuangjie is extremely insecure now. When she closes her eyes, she looks naked and soaked in blood. There is a big gap in her neck, and blood gushes out from inside. It's so creepy. Where are you going to move? Shenzhenru had no choice but to feel sorry for her daughter. How about I ask Sister Peng to move upstairs to accompany you? Zhuangjie shook her head with a pale face. Now, except for her own mother, no matter who she looked at, she felt like a murderer. The world is unpredictable, even a husband who loves each other can become a murderer, so what about the servants at home? Where is the driver? Where is the cook? Zhuangjie couldn't believe it. I know Officer Zhang still has a vacant room. She should be willing to help me, but it's just a little. Zhuangjie hesitated, I'm a little embarrassed. Shenzhenru said, you call first and ask. It's embarrassing to disturb others, but she is really scared, and now she just wants to find a safe place to sleep soundly. Zhuangjie plucked up her courage and called Zhang Si. Zhang's sister Zhang, are you still single now? What? Zhang Si was stunned. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 985. Holding the mobile phone, Zhuang Jia said with a blushing face, I haven't been able to sleep well recently, and I want to borrow from you for a while, but I don't know if it's convenient. If I have a boyfriend, I will live with you. It's very unpleasant and affects your exchange of feelings, I understand it? Zhang Xi couldn't laugh or cry. This kid thinks too far. Whenever you want to move, just come here, Zhang Xi said. Zhuang Jia was pleasantly surprised, and thanked repeatedly, Zhang, Sister Zhang, Sister Ci. Thank you so much. I was so excited that I even changed my name. After hanging up the phone, Zhuang Jia packed his luggage immediately. Shenzhenru was startled, are you moving now? Oh, help me pack my things. Zhuang Jia was anxious, wishing she could fly to Jiangxi with her wings. Hurry up, my mask, skincare products, toothbrush. After a period of chaos, Zhuang Jia arrived at Jiangxi's apartment by car. Jiangxi opened the door and saw Miss Zhuang Jia dragging a bright pink suitcase. She was stunned for a while before recovering. It came so fast. Jiangxi murmured. She let Zhuang Jia in sideways, and showed the room. The conditions here should not be as good as yours. I don't know if you can't live here. I'm used to it, Zhuang Jia said immediately. Jiangxi smiled, live here for a few days before you get used to it. There is 24-hour hot water and natural gas, but I don't usually cook. The Wi-Fi password is my mobile phone number. I want to order takeaway. There is an advertisement at the door. I usually come back at night, and I will work overtime when there is an emergency. You can call me if you have anything to do. It doesn't matter if you can't find me, there are my colleagues next door. Zhuang Jia was ecstatic when he heard the words. Surrounded by police, she feels safer. Okay, Sister Ci, I won't trouble you, Zhuang Jia promised, I can do housework. Zhang Xi laughed, don't, it's too clean, I feel uncomfortable. I understand, Zhuang Jia's eyebrows and eyes curved, a little bit of chaos can have a breath of life, I understand. Well, that's what it means. Zhang Xi smiled and nodded. Zhang Xi lived in a two-bedroom apartment. It turned out that she and Suzy shared the rent together. After Suzy moved out, the room became vacant. Zhang Xi never found another tenant, and lived alone all the time. Although living alone is comfortable, sometimes I feel lonely. Now that Zhuang Jia lives in, he can keep her company. Zhuang Jia lived in Zhang Xi's house for 3 consecutive days, and slept very soundly every night. She neither suffered from insomnia nor had nightmares. As long as she thought of being surrounded by policemen, she could feel at ease. Seeing her slowly adjusting, Zhang Xi was also happy for her. Going to work in the morning, Yu Yang came to the police station and handed a document to Zhang Xi. The DNA test results are out. Zhang Xi was slightly taken aback. What DNA test? Fei Li's brother Yu Yang said expressionlessly, the investigation team found out that there is indeed such a person, and his DNA is exactly the same as the victim of the catfish dismemberment case. Zhang Xi's eyes widened, Yu Yang, this joke is not funny at all. Yu Yang was silent for a moment, then said, Zhang Xi, we must arrest her. You also know Zhuang Jia, she can't be the murderer. Zhang Xi couldn't believe it, are you sure? Arrest someone you know is innocent. Yu Yang didn't speak, his eyes were fixed on the inspection report in his hand. Facing the major suspects in the murder case, urgent arrest must be carried out. This is the duty of the prosecutor, and it is impossible for Yu Yang to favoritism. An hour later, Zhuang Jia opened the door and saw Yu Yang standing outside leading several policemen. She raised her smiling face and was about to say hello when the policeman suddenly clasped her hands behind her back. Zhuang Jia was dumbfounded. She looked at Yu Yang. The cold metal handcuffs fell on the wrists, and a stern voice came from my ears, we suspect that you are related to a murder case, and now you are being arrested for first-degree murder. You have the right to remain silent, but every word you say, everything you say will become evidence in court. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 986. What happened? When Zhuang Jia was escorted into the police car, his head was in a daze. When she was brought into the interrogation room, she was still in a daze. She couldn't figure it out. How could she be charged with murder? Who did she kill? Her flash marriage husband. But she just fed 2 cold medicines. Did she feed him to death? The closed door suddenly opened, and Zhang Xi walked in with a complicated expression, followed by Yu Yang. Zhuang Jia immediately stood up and asked for help. Sister Zhang Xi, what's going on? Why did they say I committed murder? They also put this on me. Can this be untied? She stretched out her hands, revealing the silver-gray metal handcuffs, with a panicked expression. Zhang Xi glanced at Yu Yang. Yu Yang said, untie it for her. A police officer walked in from the outside and uncuffed Zhuang Jia. Zhuang Jia rubbed his wrist, looked at the 2 people in front of him with a confused face. What's going on? Did the police make a mistake? Can I go back now? I'm afraid you can't go back yet. Yu Yang sat down opposite her, adjusted his emotions, and asked, Zhuang Jia, do you still remember the story you made up? Zhuang Jia nodded in a daze. We found out that there is a male model nicknamed Feli who disappeared a few years ago. His real name is Kaiser Ma, and he has an older brother named Kaiming Ma. Kaiming Ma happened to be the same as in your story. We did a DNA test on the strands of hair left at his home, and we determined they were consistent with the body found in the catfish dismemberment case. Zhuang Jia still didn't understand, so she looked at Yu Yang and then at Zhang Xi. You mean, the story I made up happened to be true? Zhuang Jia was confused, but, what does this have to do with me? I don't know them. Seeing her innocent appearance, Yu Yang felt a little gloomy in his heart. He subconsciously told him that he should believe her, but the evidence before him made him have to fulfill his duty. He is the prosecutor. You can't ignore major doubts just because the other party is an acquainted friend. Yu Yang loosened his neckline, exhaled lightly, and said, Zhuang Jia, the main reason why this corpse case has not been solved is that we have never found out the identity of the deceased. He looked up and looked straight into Zhuang Jia's eyes. Do you understand now? In a murder case, no one knows who the dead is, but you do. The person who can know the identity of the deceased can only be the murderer. I don't know. Zhuang Jia was shocked. I don't know Ma Kaiming at all. I'm just making up stories. Jia, think about it carefully. Is it possible that you have heard such a story somewhere? Zhang Xi couldn't bear to force her, but had to tell her the cruel fact. Once convicted of first-degree murder, only to this kind of ruling is either death penalty or life imprisonment. So, you must think about it, you know. Death penalty? Life imprisonment. Zhuang Jia's lips were pale, and she murmured in disbelief, I obviously did nothing, I didn't commit a crime, so why was I sentenced to death? Why was I sentenced to life imprisonment? Why? Nobody believes me. Jia, we believe in you. Zhang Xi reached out to hold her hand. You didn't. Zhuang Jia broke down, waved her hands violently, and cried to Yu Yang, you don't believe me at all, that's why you brought the police to arrest me. I treat you as a friend. What a prosecutor, actually what is the difference with my husband? They all want my life. If I die, you are a murderer. You are a murderer. Zhuang Jia, calm down. Yu Yang grabbed her arm, calm down. I can't calm down. Zhuang Jia burst into tears, I'm about to be sentenced to death, how do you want me to calm down? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Liao. Chapter 987. Zhuangjia's emotions were too intense to ask any further questions. Zhang Xi and Yu Yang had no choice but to let the police take Zhuangjia down. There were only 2 depressed people left in the inquiry room. Send a girl who just turned 20 to prison, Yu Yang, you are really good. Zhang Xi was so angry that she couldn't help but choke him. Yu Yang said, if that story is true, it's equivalent to her own confession of her crimes, and 2 lives. But that's a story. Zhang Xi's eyebrows were raised, and her eyes were full of dissatisfaction. These days she dared not sleep every night, and even came to my house to find comfort. Do you think a cold-blooded corpse maniac would do this, timid? Don't you know what kind of person she is? Zhang Xi. I really don't know what kind of person she is. I don't know you, I don't know Muzi, and you don't know me either. If every criminal can be seen through at a glance, there will be no criminals in this world. There will be so many tragedies every day. Yu Yang's face was livid, and he said sharply, of course I know that Zhuangjia is our friend, but we are handling the case now, so we can't act emotionally. That's enough. Don't tell me the truth. Zhang Xi was irritable. Yu Yang. When I joined the criminal police team, you were still worrying about your credits in the training institute. You don't need to teach me how to do things. So you think it's a coincidence? Yu Yang was also furious. She was facing a life and death crisis at the time. How could she make up such a reasonable story? In the story, Feli and his brother died, so in reality there is really so 2 people are missing. And the DNA of one of them can also be matched. In the story, the victims all drank coffee, so in reality, caffeine was found in the corpse. The clue of caffeine has never been disclosed to the outside world, only those who have read the forensic report know. How did Zhuangjia know? She didn't dismember the body in the story. Zhang Xi yelled angrily. Zhuangjia was only 16 years old when the crime happened. Do you think it's possible for a little girl to dismember 2 tall male corpses? Yu Yang roared, I never said she was a murderer. In fact, I don't want to believe that she killed someone, but we must face reality. Zhang Xi, the facts are in front of me, I can only arrest her. Zhang Xi's eyes were full of resentment. She simply stopped looking at him, lit a cigarette for herself, and took a deep puff. Yu Yang squeezed the center of his brows, feeling equally irritable and anxious. Let's stop arguing, there is no way to help her if this goes on. You and I both know that Zhuangjia's personality cannot kill people and tear them apart. The question now is, why Zhuangjia is so aware of the details of that case back then. There must be something inside that we don't know about. Although Zhang Xi's personality is fiery, she will not be impulsive, and she calms down after hearing this. Is it possible that it is a story meeting? She asked. Like the time at Musician's house, Zhuangjia unconsciously remembered someone's story, and then faced the Black Rose murderer at that time. Out of the instinct of self-help, she processed the stories she had heard before and told them again. Yu Yang said, if we want the judge to accept this statement, we need witnesses. You can check Zhuangjia's friends to see if anyone has attended a party with her and heard similar stories. I will check with Ma Kaiser. With Ma Kaiming, see if we can find other clues. The 2 discussed it and started to act immediately. Yu Yang returned to the procuratorate and was called to the office by his superiors. The chief prosecutor asked the progress of the dismemberment case and when it would enter the trial stage. The date hasn't been set yet, but it's expected to be in the middle of next month, Yu Yang replied. The nature of this case is very bad. It has been suspended for several years. The public is very concerned. Let's try to close the case as soon as possible. Yu Yang was silent for a while, then replied in a low voice, yes. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Liao. Chapter 988. Yu Yang has always felt that he is calm enough. Since he is engaged in this job, he must be impartial and seek truth from facts even when facing relatives and friends. But when things came to an end, Yu Yang found that it was actually very difficult. He closed his eyes, and the scene of opening the door appeared in his mind. Zhuangjia from the room ran over helplessly, like a frightened child, threw herself into his arms and cried loudly. Then the screen flashed, and Zhuangjia was arrested in front of her eyes. She put on handcuffs and stared at him blankly with black and white eyes, full of shock and bewilderment. She must have been very puzzled at the time, why the most trusted person would put her in prison. Yu Yang can also explain to her in a serious manner how unfavorable the evidence before her is. But that would be tantamount to secondary damage. Yu Yang went to Ma's house in person. He wanted to find out whether Ma Kai's and Ma Kaiming brothers had discordant friends back then, or economic disputes, or emotional disputes, whatever. As long as there is a second suspect, Zhuangjia is more likely to be innocent. Big. It's a pity that Yu Yang returned without success. The case has been put on hold for 3 or 4 years. No one knows what happened to the brothers before they disappeared, and the Ma family's parents have been living in a small town and rarely ask about their sons. There was also no result on Jiangxi's side. Zhuangjia is not Zhang's Hinyuan. Zhuangjia has too many friends. She has attended countless parties, and there are friends of friends, friends of friends of friends at the parties. Even if all the police forces are invested, I am afraid there is no way to deal with them. People interrogated one by one. The next afternoon, Yu Yang brought a thick stack of party photos to see Zhuangjia, and asked her to try her best to identify who in the photos might tell the story of the murder of the Ma brothers. Unexplainably arrested and charged with murder, it is impossible for Zhuangjia not to complain to Yang. It's just about her innocence, and she can only cooperate with the prosecutor. After looking at several photos one after another, Zhuangjia realized that all these photos came from her Weibo. With the popularity of social networks, it has almost become an instinct to take photos and post on Weibo at parties. But her homepage has more than 10,000 microblogs, texts, pictures, posted by herself, forwarded by others, all kinds of jokes or celebrity gossip, and she wants to collect from these more than 10,000 microblogs photos from every gathering, a huge amount of work. Zhuangjia couldn't help but glance at Yu Yang. Yu Yang's eyes were faintly black and his eye sockets were bloodshot, obviously he hadn't slept all night. Put the party photos that you may have heard the story on the right-hand side, and those that are impossible to put on the left-hand side, Yu Yang said to her with a slightly hoarse voice. Zhuangjia looked down at the photo seriously. The recent photos are okay, at least Zhuangjia still remembers what they played at the party, but the old ones, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Zhuangjia can't even recognize the faces of the people in the party, let alone the one about Philip who did the story come from. She looked at it for a long time, and the more she looked, the more she felt hopeless. Seeing that Yu Yang was sitting next to her, carefully recording the numbers of the photos that were screened out, she couldn't help but ask, "Are you afraid?" Yu Yang was taken aback. Zhuangjia said, "When you think that the prisoner you have arrested is likely to be innocent and will soon face the death penalty or life imprisonment, do you feel very stressed and afraid when you think about it?" Yu Yang was silent, and was speechless for a moment. Looking at his poker face, Zhuangjia sighed quietly, "Maybe you can feel better if you see me as a murderer. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again." Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 989. Zhuangjia, like everyone else, "I believe you are innocent," Yu Yang said. "I arrest you only because of my duty, that's all." "So you believe that I am innocent emotionally, but rationally want to arrest me as a criminal?" Zhuangjia looked at him and murmured, "You are really divided." Yu Yang was non-committal. He couldn't help but ask himself, if he had never known Zhuangjia, Would he have preconceived that Zhuangjia was the murderer after taking over the case? While meditating, I felt a heavy weight on my shoulders. It was Zhuangjia who was patting him on the shoulder. "Don't be afraid," she said, mocking herself. "It's too late to be afraid now, prosecutor." Yu Yang couldn't help laughing. It was supposed to be him comforting her, but it turned out to be the other way around, which felt a little subtle irony. After Zhuangjia recognized the photos, Yu Yang recorded all the photo numbers and left the photos to Zhuangjia, asking her to look at as many as possible, maybe she would think of something. Human memory is a very strange thing, like a grasshopper hidden in the grass. Sometimes you can't find it, but sometimes it pops out suddenly. 2 days later, Zhuangjia still couldn't remember where he heard the story, but the police investigation made new progress. When they questioned Zhuangjia's friends, they learned from one of them that when Zhuangjia was 14 years old, she had cut off the ear of a male model, and Zhuangjia's mother had paid him a lot of money for this. Yu Yang got the injury report from the police and sat alone in the office for a long time. Then he went to the Attorney General's office. "I request to avoid this case, please send another person to investigate this case," Yu Yang said. The chief prosecutor was surprised. "Why? You are one of the best prosecutors in the procuratorate, and it is perfect for you to handle this case." Yu Yang was silent for a moment, then replied, "I know the defendant." The chief prosecutor flipped through the documents and asked suspiciously, "Are you guys and girls?" "No, just ordinary friends," Yu Yang said with a serious look. "If you're just an ordinary friend, there's no need to avoid it, right?" said the chief prosecutor. "If you're worried that someone will question you, you don't have to. I believe you won't affect your work because of your personal emotions." "No, I still request to recuse from this case," Yu Yang insisted. "I don't want any factors to affect the fairness of this case." Yu Yang asked repeatedly, but the chief prosecutor had no choice but to agree to him. After that, Yu Yang went to see Zhuangjia in the detention center again, and told her the current situation. "If you are lucky and meet an inexperienced prosecutor and hire an imposing criminal lawyer, the possibility of acquittal is very high, so don't be too pessimistic." Zhuangjia was dumbfounded. She vaguely understood the meaning of Yu Yang's words. If the prosecutor is him, she will definitely die. There is no possibility of turning over? Where does this guy get his confidence? But the situation is still against you, especially because you have hurt people in the past, and it will give the judge and jury a bad impression that the violence is out of control. "It doesn't mean that." Yang finished speaking, Zhuangjia anxiously argued, "but I didn't mean it at the time. He was drunk, I just wanted to stop him from coming. I took a knife and closed my eyes a few times. Who knew I would cut him off ears? Besides, we had already reconciled at that time. No matter what the circumstances were at the time, it will not change the fact that you once cut off a man's ear." Yu Yang paused and took a deep breath. "Listen to me, Zhuangjia, your case is a case of mutilating a corpse. Cut off. Once the jury has any associations with your act of cutting off the ear of the other party, the consequences will be disastrous." He asked again, "Has your mother found a good lawyer for you?" Zhuangjia said with a mournful face, "I've found it." "Resign," Yu Yang said. "I suggest you go to Musei for help, let her defend you, the chance of winning is better." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life. Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 990. Zhuangjia's case has not been reported by the media, and Musei, who is far away in Beijing, does not know about it. Musei is preparing for the start of school recently. The course of the Judicial Training Institute lasts for 2 years. In the first academic year, trainees should learn to write civil and criminal complaints, judgments, and other written litigation materials, as well as relevant practical knowledge. In addition, at least 75 hours of social service activities are required, such as providing legal advice in some disability welfare institutions. For music, these courses are very easy and stress-free. In the second academic year, trainees will be arranged to practice in courts, prosecutors' offices, and law firms. Only then will I really get busy, not only to write various litigation materials, but also to attend the trial process, participate in the special investigation of the prosecutor's office, and engage in legal work as a public defender. After all the courses are completed, the professors will provide assessment guidance to help the trainees choose a career that suits them among the three professions of judge, prosecutor, and lawyer. On the first day of school, the school entrance was extremely lively, and some reporters took pictures inside and outside the campus. After Musi attended the opening ceremony, she met with her classmates and got the schedule for the new semester. Completely different from the uniform youthful faces in middle school, the students in the training institute are very different. For the young ones, there are students like Musi who have just left school. For the older ones, there are also old men who have worked for many years. In addition to the age gap, there is also a big gap in appearance. There are elites in suits and leather shoes, and there are poor students in old clothes. Musi is undoubtedly the most watched. She is not only the youngest among the students, but also the most honorable, not to mention that she just held a grand wedding not long ago, which was hotly discussed by the whole people, standing among many students, like a star. Probably because she was too dazzling, no one approached her for a while. Musi fell silent. There are 2 compulsory classes this morning. She had studied here before, and unlike other students wandering around like headless chickens, she quickly found the classroom according to the location on the schedule. When entering the classroom, he was bumped by someone behind him, and all the books and pencil cases in his hand fell to the ground. The other party hurriedly apologized. I'm sorry, I was cleaning my glasses just now, and I didn't notice you in front." Musi turned her head to look, and saw that the man behind him really was wearing a pair of thick glasses, bowing and apologizing hastily. "It's okay." Musi smiled, bent down to pick up her things, and found an empty seat to sit down. The man also hurriedly sat down. He was fatter and sweated constantly, presumably because he was afraid of the heat, so he chose a seat by the window. Musi only looked at it for a while, then looked away, because the teacher came in. The teacher was a female, about 40 or 50 years old, small in stature, with a straight back and a loud voice. She introduced herself first, and then said sternly, "As long as you take my class, I don't care how famous you are outside, how high your status is, or how glorious your grades are, you must abide by my rules. If you don't follow my rules, sorry, please leave this classroom immediately. I can't afford to teach such a delicate student like you." Musa didn't feel anything at first when she heard this, but when the teacher finished speaking, there were a few vague eyes cast on her in the classroom, as if the students felt that the teacher was talking about her. Musi frowned slightly, feeling a little unhappy. Next, the teacher began to give lectures, and the first day of school ended without a hitch. At noon, Murong Cheng came to pick her up, held a rose, and drove a luxury car, causing a crowd of onlookers at the school gate. After getting in the car, Musi told him to keep a low profile in the future. "Why keep a low profile?" Murong Cheng disapproved. "I dote on my own woman, it's only right and proper." Musi was amused by his cheeky appearance. In fact, she felt that the female teacher seemed to have some opinions on her, but maybe she was too sensitive. "Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again." Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 991. The new semester has just started, and there are not many courses. Many courses start to be scheduled from the second week, so the first week basically only has classes in the morning. Muzi and Murong Cheng went to the restaurant for lunch, and then went home together. Murong Cheng has been entangled with her so much recently that he almost hugged her upstairs when he got out of the car. When he went up the stairs, he walked in such a hurry that Muzi was being lifted up and down in his arms, and Muzi giggled. After entering the room, Murong Cheng put her on the bed and kissed her, with both hands dishonestly inserted into the clothes. Muzi smiled and pressed his hand. "Hey, don't you think it's been too frequent recently? Newlyweds, it's normal to be more frequent." Murong Cheng put his arms around her, and kissed her hard. "It's not normal if you start abstinence right after you get married." These words sound reasonable, but Muzi writhed in his arms, a little unhappy. "Every time I finished, I was told to rest for 2 days, which never counted," she complained softly. "It hurts a bit when I walk." "It means that you are a man with good physical strength." Murong Cheng pinched her nose. "You don't know how to be blessed when you are blessed." Muzi smiled and slipped into his arms. "It really hurts?" Murong Cheng asked again. Muzi nodded. Murong Cheng sighed, turned over and lay down, let Muzi pillow on his chest, stroked her hair with his big hands. All desire disappeared. The thick ink hair was as cool and slippery as water, and he couldn't help holding up a section, and kissed it lightly. "I'm going to Zhonghai City in a few days, and I may have to stay there for a while," Murong Cheng said. "Can you live here alone?" The outside world only thinks that Huorong's property has been completely taken over by Murong Cheng, but those who have done business with Huorong before, seeing Murong Cheng who looks the same as Huorong, all know it well. Huorong is not dead, he just changed his identity and made a comeback. Muzi thought for a while, then asked him, "Shall I go to Zhonghai to see you on Saturday and Sunday?" "No need, I will come over sometime," Murong Cheng said. Muzi squeezed her throat on purpose, and said coquettishly, "Oh, that's so embarrassing to ask you to come here every time. Didn't you think my physical strength was too good just now? I can just consume it on the road. The nature of a hooligan cannot be changed." Muzi slapped him amusedly. Murong Cheng hugged her tighter, and sighed, "I really want to take you away with me. Don't go to school." "You're talking nonsense again. Graduation after only 2 years, it's very short." Muzi laughed. "Besides, I'm already married to you, and I can't run away." "Well, it's best to have a baby in your stomach, then you really can't escape." Murong Cheng's big hand caressed Muzi's lower abdomen, gently rubbing it, as if there was already a baby there. Muzi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "How can I get pregnant so quickly? Besides, I don't want to go to school with a big belly." Murong Cheng suddenly pulled her up. "Try it now." "What?" Muzi was a little confused. Murong Cheng had already got up, took out the pregnancy test stick from the bedside drawer and handed it to her. "Maybe she is already pregnant." Muzi stared at him dumbfounded. Murong Cheng said, "If I'm not pregnant, I'll work harder tonight." "You bastard!" Muzi pinched his waist hard, took the pregnancy test stick and turned to go to the bathroom. I don't know if it was an illusion, but she always felt that Murong Cheng had a strange attachment to the matter of having a child. It's only been a week since the marriage. Even if you win the bid once, it's impossible to find out in such a short time. But, they do it so frequently, it will probably be a matter of time before they become pregnant. Muzi thought wildly, unpacked the pregnancy test stick, waited for a while after using it, and there was indeed only a red line in the display area.